Did you know just by color grading, you can not only enhance your video's quality, but also add more dynamic range to your overall video, even if you didn't even shoot in log? Let me show you an example. So you guys are probably wondering, how in the world was I able to pretty much add or generate dynamic range in the video? And it's not that I generated it, it is actually there. You just have to know how to extract it. So let's go ahead and jump into DaVinci Resolve, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did this. So first off, here's the clip that we're working with. It's this one right here, and I already have the in and out point selected. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag and drop it into a timeline here. Okay, so as you can see, this is our clip here. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and jump right over into our color page and let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this node over here just a little bit, okay? And as you can see, before we get started, we need to examine this clip and see exactly what we are accomplishing. So you'll notice that on the clip, we have no sky. The sky is completely gone. We're going to be able to recover that and some with this method. So to get started, what you need to do is click on your node here and hit Alt S on the keyboard, or you can also click on the node and right click on it and hit add node here, and you can do add serial. Okay, but we're gonna need to add another one. We need 3 of them. Okay, and then once you have your third one, what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna bring in our color space transform. Okay, and if you don't know where that is, you can also just type it up here, color space transform. Okay, we're gonna drag and drop that in on node 2. Okay, let's go ahead and click on node 2. So in order for this to work, we actually have to change the gamma and color space to make this work. That's what a color space transform is. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. If you notice here on our scopes, you see how these little curves in the color are here, but then some of them go beyond 1023 in our range on our scope. You see there are some curves here that just clip, right? You see how they get clipped here? They're at the roof, they hit the rooftop. This is something that you really never really want to happen with your colors, because you're losing color data and exposure, and you're just losing detail generally. Okay, now there are artistic reasons why you would want to do that, but let's say for example, if you didn't want that, then you want your scopes to not have these clipping arcs. All right, so how in the world are we going to be able to regenerate all of these clipping parts back? Well, the natural inclination is to go over here to your highlights under your HDR. Actually, I believe it starts off like this by default, and you'll go here and you'll hit this little arrow, and then you want to bring down your highlight extremes, and then you're going to try to soften the window, and then you're going to say, okay, I'm just going to bring down my highlights, and boom, this is what starts to happen. You see that right here? See this hard line right here? No matter what, that hard line is going to be there. Okay, so there's nothing you can do. It is completely gone. All right, so we cannot fix it. Okay, so let's go ahead and reset this back to normal, and let's put back our transform back. And so how do we get that back, right? Well, you're gonna have to change some things here in the color space transform. What we're gonna do is we're gonna change this to the following, and I promise it will make sense once we get it going, but we're gonna make this Rec 709. Okay, we're gonna call this Rec 709, which is what it is, true colors, right? Then we're gonna change this to gamma 2.6, and this is where the science is really happening. It's in this gamma conversion. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to change this to S Gamut 3, Sony S Gamut 3, since I use a Sony camera to film this, and we're going to use Sony S Log 3. We're going to convert this into a log format. All right, boom. If you have a different camera, not Sony, you would change it to whatever your gamut and log profile for your camera. All right, so now this is where it's going to get really, really interesting. You notice how I had you guys put that second node there? All right, now we're going to do something with that second node, and that's right here, which is number 3. We're going to click on it, and we're going to drag in a color space transform on this one as well. And then what we're going to do is simply go to our input space again. Okay, and notice what happens to our scopes when this happens. Okay, we're going to go ahead and drop this down, and we're going to call this same thing S Gamut 3, and then we're going to change this to I think it's S Log 3, or actually gamma 2.6 first. We need to get the gamma in here, and then we're going to go to our output, and now we're going to call this Rec 709. So if we had did S Log, actually we wouldn't have made any progress. We'd have been made pretty much a loop. Okay, we're gonna transfer rect 709. So now you're probably wondering, well, Chris, this just wrecked the footage. Like, look at all of this, right? Look at our waves here. They went so high that this is worse. Okay, so check this out. Before, after, before, after. So actually what is happening here is these are actually getting, in a sense, they're actually getting stretched so wide now. We have so much dynamic range and stretched so wide that it's going so much farther away from where we want to be. So all we need to do then is just bring our exposure down, and then we'll bring all of our highlights down with it. But the key is you can't do that at, after the fact. You got to do that before this conversion takes place. So we're going to do that on node 1. Okay, and let me show you guys my scopes here. Watch what happens over here as I bring this down over here. So I'm going to go over here to my global, and let's just bring this down by like -25 is usually where I go. And oh, look what's happening over here as I bring this down. Look at that. We're not clipping anymore, right? We're not clipping anymore. In fact, notice the visual. We actually can see what the background is. It's actually not a sky at all. It's actually a reflection on a window building, right? So this is phenomenal, right? And obviously the more you bring it down, the more data you're going to pull, but we're not going to get too crazy because, again, you can also start to break it if you go too far. All right, but let's go ahead and bring down our exposure on our global again, on our and usually around 25 is kind of where I like to be. Not too crazy. Okay, -25, 26 to 30 is kind of where you want to be, depending on how extreme the highlights are blown out. So now we actually have a background here. This is pretty fascinating. But now you wonder, well, Chris, the thing has got no contrast, and my colors are just slightly off a little bit. Not a problem. We're gonna fix that. All right, so let's jump back into our software here. Okay, and we're gonna scooch all this over here by selecting it and dragging it, selecting all this and dragging it. Okay, we're gonna hit Alt S on the keyboard again for a serial. Yes, as you guys can see, you can use all serial nodes. You don't need to use any parallels or any of the other mixer nodes as well too. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix our contrast. In fact, I'm gonna fix my contrast, and I'm gonna also hit Alt S on the keyboard and fix my exposure. So first, let's go ahead and fix the exposure. And basically let's fix the contrast first and then the exposure. It'll make sense why we're going to do that, because you'll see that my contrast here on my scopes down here, you see that's not below 128. So basically there's no shadows. It just looks almost like a filmic look. That is a look in its own. If you want to mess with that, you can, by all means. But we're going to go ahead and bring down our contrast by going over to our primaries wheels. And I'm going to go over our contrast, and I'm just going to double click in here. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in 1.1, and that should bring us below the 128 mark. If you want a little bit more contrast, you could also go 1.2, and that can also work. And as you can see, we're getting a lot more contrast, and we're getting below that 128 mark. Another method, you can reset this here. You can also go to your curves right here as well, and then you can go way on the very tail end right here, put a node right here, and then just drag this down to however far you want as well, so you got a little bit more control there. Okay, all right, cool. So we are in the home stretch now. Now you're wondering, well, okay, we've got a lot of data here, we've got all this color and stuff, we got our exposure back, we got our highlights not blown out, we can actually see the bokehs back here that were completely non-existent before. Unbelievable what we've done here, right? So what's next? How do we now get this brighter? Well, simply just go over to your HDR wheel over here while in your last node, and then go over to your globals, and then remember we brought it down by -26 or something like that. Now you can bring this up by 26 or whatever in between, and that will give you back your brightness. Okay, and of course you can also add in a LUT to that. You can go and add another serial node, and you can add in your LUT, whatever you want. So I'm going to drop this one in. I don't like to have my nodes, my LUTs too strong, so I'm gonna go ahead and go over here to my key output right here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and double click on here and put point like 7, just so that's not so strong. And then we can make this a little bit brighter. You can even draw a mask around them, whatever you want. Yeah, sure. You want to put a mask around them? Yeah, let's do it. Cool. Go over to your power window, go right here. Maybe you just want it on them in particular. I'm not sure what your going for, but if you wanted that look, you can totally do something like this, you know, pop this over them, or you could even do a magic mask, you know, up to you guys. But I'm just showing you guys how this workflow is really neat. We don't want to bring that up too far because we don't want to brighten up our background. Then we're going to add some softening. All right, gonna keep softening. And then let's see, we're gonna go over here, soften. And our top, we're gonna soften a little bit. And now everything in this mask, we can actually brighten it up a little bit more, pick that up so that they are, you know, perfectly exposed. And voila, here we have our visual right here. Okay, so we went from before to after. Wow, you guys, can you guys believe that we completely just resurrected the background? I mean, unbelievable. This will work on some pretty extreme stuff. I can show you guys some samples on how this was able to really save the date video that I made for this couple, you know, and it just blew me away, and I discovered it, and I figured I would share that with you guys. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, a wonderful year, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Y'all take care. See ya.